I'll just introduce myself. My name is Esteban Monge. I'm the Work-Based Learning Specialist for the Grossmont Union High School District, and I'll be your Zoom room host for today. Today's presentation is what is a career pathway, developing high-quality CTE program of study. Our two presenters are Jayme Cambra and Emily Stevenson from San Dieguito, correct? Unified School District. So I will hand it over to them and they'll get started.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I know we'll probably have people join as we get started. So as Esteban mentioned, and thank you, Esteban, for being our room host. Isn't this funny, this virtual world we live in, and how we've all adjusted so easily. As Esteban mentioned, there's a resource page on Whova that you all can reference and find the presentation that we're going to be sharing and follow along. We do have some links that we've included, so when we get to those slides, you can kind of dive deep into those resources that we're going to reference. So the title today is What is a Career Pathway? And Developing High Quality CTE Programs of Study. So I will introduce myself first. My name is Jayme Cambra. I'm a counselor on special assignment, a CoSA, for the San Dieguito Union High School District. Emily, do you want to say hi?
Maybe I do. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Stevenson, and I am the lead CTE counselor in Poway Unified School District.
And we thought we'd start by sharing a little bit about our districts and our roles so you guys can have a better understanding of the lens we're sharing with you today. So San Dieguito Union High School District, I've worked there for about 16 years. Prior to San Dieguito, I was in Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District in Los Angeles, in both roles as a school counselor. I've also been a CTE counselor, an assistant principal for a moment in time, and now I'm at our district level where I support, this year I support social emotional learning and college and career readiness for our district. Looking at San Dieguito Union High School District, we're grades 7 through 12. Our school sites are in Carlsbad, Encinitas, Carmel Valley. We represent the kind of North County coastal community. We have a large number of students that do continue on to a four-year college after high school. And over the past 3 or 4 years, we've really been putting a lot of focus on the career component for post-secondary education, understanding that regardless of the path students take after high school, career is the ultimate goal. So we want to be sure that our students are prepared. So in doing that, in the last few years, we've put a lot of energy and effort into establishing career pathways that align and prepare our students for the post-secondary goals that they want and aligned with high quality instruction, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And ultimately the use of a tool that counselors in our district use to work with our students to help guide them through that process. So San Dieguito Union High School District, we have 17 pathways that we offer across our 4 high school campuses. We also have an alternative high school, and that is kind of evolving. We're working toward getting a CTE pathway started there as well. So we have a total of 32 CTE pathways that our students participate in. 7 of the pathways represent the high demand sectors in our county, engineering, ICT, education. So that's always a good alignment. Most of our classes, I would say almost 90% of our CTE classes are UC A through G approved, which has also been a shift in the past 3 or 4 years. In our community, that's something that's very sought after by our students, and we want to ensure the overlap between college and career and show students that by taking classes in high school that are UC approved in the CTE pathways, they're also preparing for college if that's their plan, and then also meeting the high quality requirement for CTE pathways. We have 11 courses district-wide that articulate with MiraCosta College, which is our community college, and we have a really strong relationship with MiraCosta that I'm proud of, and we work hard to maintain because it's a working partnership is huge for community college and high schools. So there's 23 district-wide courses, and a lot of them are offered at multiple sites. And then looking at our industry partners, as you all know, industry partners is kind of the foundation of CTE pathway classes and the incredible work that's happening in those classes. So in my role previously, a big piece of it was looking at these industry partnerships and establishing these relationships and supporting our teachers and getting outside of the classroom to make those connections. So I just included a few local companies that our teachers work with. These are kind of fluid and evolve. And a lot of them are companies that are based in North County, coastal, kind of where our schools are, which is nice because there's overlap with parents that work there, or our students are familiar with these brands and names. And so there's a little bit more of an incentive and interest in those career pathway classes when they're aligned with these industry partners that the students know. Next to you, Em.
All right, so again, my name is Emily. This is my third year working for Poway Unified in CTE. Prior to working for Poway Unified, I spent several years working as a co-director of college counseling at La Jolla Country Day School. I spent a year as an interim director of college advising at the High Tech Highs in Point Loma at 2 of their campuses. And then over 14 years, I worked as a college admissions counselor, so for 3 different universities. So I came to Poway Unified with a different lens, really having spent most of my career working with 4-year institutions. So it's kind of been fun to switch gears and really focus more on all post-secondary options for students. So 2-year straight to industry and a 4-year as well. So that's been a fun part of my time here at Poway. So in our district, we are K through 12. We really support all of our K through 12 students in career and college readiness. We have some Project Lead the Way in many of our elementary schools, and then we're really focusing a lot on aligning our middle to high school curriculum. So that's something we've spent a lot of time with. We do have 12 of the 15 high growth industry sectors in our district, 7 of which have been identified as emergent in San Diego County by the California Chancellor's Office, Community College Chancellor's Office. So now we're trying to work on, not only deepening these pathways and providing more opportunities for students, but also starting younger. So providing opportunities for our middle school students to start becoming more involved in CTE and aligning our middle school pathways with our high school pathways. So that by the time students get to high school, they already have a better understanding of maybe what they like doing or don't like doing, and are more prepared to dive deeper in high school and start those work-based learning experiences even earlier. Oops, I did not realize if I click there, it would go to the next screen. And then you can just also see, like San Dieguito, the majority of our CTE courses are A through G. We have 5 comprehensive high schools and one alternative high school, all of which do have pathways available to students. We work with Palomar, CoSA, and Miramar for articulation or early college credit for students. So we are continuing to work to provide more early college credit opportunities for our students. And then as far as industry partnership, I just kind of put some logos of some of them that we work with down below, many of which have collaborated with students on projects. They help support our district both with their time and financial support as well. So that's been a big part of what we do as well. All right.
And I think this is a good opportunity. We're going to go into the high quality CTE program, but as more people are joining the room, and in an effort to have some SEL piece to give us all who's in the room with us, since we can't see each other. So if anyone would like to add in the chat, introduce yourself, your name, what district you represent, or where you're from, or your role, just so everyone can see who's in here with us as we're talking, that would be great as well. We're going to ask you to participate in the chat in a minute or two. So maybe while you do that, you can add your name and where you're from. So kind of channeling into the high quality CTE program, those of you who are familiar with that can reference, there used to be a document that we would reference a lot, the 11 elements of a high quality CTE program. And that was kind of, especially in my role when I transitioned from a school site to the district office, I learned a lot. I remember being a counselor at a high school, that's all I've ever done. And going from ROP classes to standalone elective classes and working with students to decide which classes to take. And as many of you probably know, kids come in with all these great ideas of what they want to take, and it often comes down to, well, what grade are you in? What classes are available? What works with your schedule? And then, you know, students are let down, and we let them, you know, especially ninth graders in high school, we're like, you know, we have this great culinary program, or we have this really cool wood shop, and you can take this and that. And then they get there and it's like, but it's full. So we've all kind of probably been in those positions, and CTE pathways are totally different than ROP and standalone electives, and they're designed for a student to be able to progress through a sequence of courses so that they can ultimately gain skills along the way to build their career skills and you know, to benefit their post-secondary education. So we wanted to highlight what it was and what it is now. And so the CTE classes now that we all know and have at our campuses have to meet these high quality like elements, and they used to be called the 11 elements, and now we're introducing the 12 elements. And I don't know, Emily, if you want to add to that.
No, I think we kind of wanted to pose some questions to the audience, and Esteban, you might have to, since you can see the Whova chat, you may have to tell us what the responses are. But so one question that we wanted to pose to everyone is, how are CTE pathways different and unique than other courses offered in high school?
And feel free to use the Whova chat, and I'll fire off the responses. Yeah.
Perfect.
And this is just an opportunity for you guys to share your perception of, and maybe it's different at each school and every district, and we may have people from out of our county or state and participating. So what is it that you know that's different and unique? You know, how can, when working with students, how can you share the benefits of CTE, and why is it different and unique than other, you know, standalone classes or traditional classes?
And this is something, you know, I think is a common misconception still, the differences between ROP and CTE, and just understanding that really CTE are pathways to post-secondary options, and really allowing students to try on different hats and learn more in depth that hands-on knowledge, that work-based knowledge, those work-based learning skills, to see, do I really like this, or maybe I don't. You know, maybe I think I really want to be a doctor, I want to work in healthcare, but, you know, then they take a class and they're actually seeing what that looks like, or maybe they go and have an experience at a hospital and they realize, nope, this is not for me. In our opinion, that's a success, right? The students learning, no, that's not really what I want to do. Let me try something else, helping to make their post-secondary decisions more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So the chat is pretty quiet.
That's okay.
So please,
Emily and I are both talkers, so we can talk all morning with you guys.
But please continue to add questions there, and we'll fire them away.
Okay. Feel free to interrupt us if there is something in the chat. Something I wanted to highlight that is different and unique related to the high quality CTE program and working with your students is describing to them the intentional sequencing of these courses. And like Emily shared, giving students the exposure. Sometimes middle schools have pre-pathway classes too in high school, and if it's a K through 12 district, absolutely elementary school is the career exploration component. But making sure students are aware of the opportunities they have, and that can be related to the courses now contain industry partnerships and standards. So the curriculum is aligned with what's happening in the local industry in that sector. And that's huge. I remember that's not something that used to be part of course outlines when we were looking at ROP or standalone electives. So to me, that's something that our teachers have really taken advantage of, and they've had to redesign, especially teachers that have been teaching these courses for years and years and have seen the evolution from ROP to CTE. They've had to shift and redesign their course content, and you know, they may have been in the industry or they may not have been in the industry, and if they hadn't been recently, then they have to get outside of the classroom and make those connections and really make sure they're bringing in that information and project-based learning and skills into the classroom so that the students have a hands-on experience.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to also say too, it's just CTE classes are academic. They really work alongside and support the learning that is going on in the core academic classes, but they're academic. They're not easy classes. Many of them might have honors weight, but they, you know, they're, as we mentioned earlier, A through G. So most of, at least in our district, most of them are A through G approved. So keeping that in mind as well. These are academic options for students that are, many of them count for science credit, math credit, and elective credit in their district art even. So, All right, next question.
What is our role as counselors to understand our CTE programs and the opportunity it presents to our students? So as you all know, in the counseling lens, we have to make ourselves indispensable. We have to show our worth. We have to show our credibility and the value that we bring to a school campus. So working with students in any course selection, of course, is a big piece of our job, but really making sure that we know what's going on in those CTE classes, any class actually, and being able to represent that accurately to our students. If you're able to respond in the chat, great. We'd love to hear what you have to say. But I think the big piece here is we're trying to remind everyone, and it's so hard, especially now, we're not in our normal situation, but when we're back to school in a regular setting, getting out of our offices, walking to classrooms, going through, looking, connecting with teachers, checking in with students, what is it that they're doing, and then being able to bring that information back when you're working with students on course selection or for your planning documents or post-secondary, and having that connection when a student has a conversation with you of, well, I might want to go into healthcare, and maybe you don't offer that at your school site, but you can say, well, there's another class that kind of aligns and overlaps, and this might be something that you can take that would be interesting and allow you to gain the same skills and give you a glimpse of what that could look like.
And I think too, also thinking about when we're talking about the California dashboard and college and career readiness, right? Our role as a counselor as well is to support what the goals of our sites are, right? What are the goals of our high school? What are the goals of our district? And pathway completion, college and career readiness, work-based learning experiences, all of those things, feed into that dashboard and how the school is coming across. So I think, that role, kind of balancing both of those things too, is the student understanding, but also supporting the needs of the school and the district.
And that dashboard is huge for stakeholders, right? For community members, for parents, for anyone evaluating the role, the school, the credit, the report card.
Exactly.
So we have one counselor responded, we should be able to muster some enthusiasm in students to encourage them to enroll in CTE courses.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, because the students don't care about pathway completion, right? We want them to, but to them, it's more about how does this fit into my schedule? And for many of them, how is this going to help me with what I'm going to do after I graduate?
And I'd be interested if anyone in this session has any advice on the pathway completion piece, because like Emily said, our students, we put it on their transcript. A few of our high schools indicated in the graduation program if the student is a pathway completer, and that's been really valuable, but there's not a whole lot of incentive. And we're also working with our students to report that in college applications if they're going to be a pathway completer and additional information. So to really trying to tie it into the benefit that it brings. But if anyone else is working through that at your school site, please feel free to share any advice you may have, because that's a big carrot we're trying to dangle and find some sort of teeth to dig into that, so students are excited.
And okay, I was gonna say, I can share what we're doing in our district that I'm super excited about while we're waiting for, in case anyone, but interrupt me if someone.
Yeah, we have, it says they found that pathway courses, when pathway courses don't satisfy A through G, there's hesitation to enroll and complete.
Of course.
And then I think CT pathways end with a certification, more students may be willing to enroll.
Absolutely. And that's something you guys have in some of your pathways, right, Jayme? With your CoSA, that students do graduate with a certification. And I know San Diego Unified too with their health sciences pathway, I believe, and the certification.
And then that's more of the tangible piece that the students understand that they're attaining at the end. So yes, our business pathway, and I'm going to talk about that later, has a really strong, all of the courses articulate with MiraCosta. So if a student completes the entire business pathway, they ultimately earn, they have different certificate opportunities. So yeah, we'll get into that.
And as I say, oh, go ahead. I was gonna say what we're doing in our district too, just because I'm super stoked we were able to pull it off last year, even with COVID, but we actually are now doing pathway completion certificates. So any student that completes a pathway receives a certificate saying they completed the pathway with really pretty, I wish I had pictures of them to show you guys, but really pretty seals on them, just that look similar to the biliteracy seal, but they're specific to the pathway. So if a student completes multiple pathways, they may have multiple seals on their diploma. We also make a notation on our diploma or on our transcripts. You know, as students are applying to college, if they know they're going to be a pathway completer, now this is something they can put on their application as an award or an honor. And then, of course, obviously announcing it in the award ceremony. So those are kind of some things we're doing. Again, just because it's that carrot, it's that tangible, how do I earn this certificate? How do I earn this recognition? Sorry, I interrupted you, Jayme, so we can keep moving on.
Those are good ideas, though. And I think depending who's in the room, I know every district's different, and a lot of this depends on resources, right? Like, and a lot of people, you know, I was the only counselor at the district office dedicated to CTE. So, and I know like Poway has a team. I work with a director who oversees CTE, and then I have at each of our high school sites and middle school, I had a point of contact to kind of roll anything out. So every district's different and unique, but I think it's always good to share best practices and see how that can work within your own lens. So I was going to say, we did link the 12 elements, and we wanted to reference. These are brand new, kind of hot off the press. Maybe some of you are familiar with this. When Emily and I designed this session, we honestly were referencing the 11 elements, and because it was in August, and we were like, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we want to talk about, and we really want to share this career pathway planning document that we're kind of unpacking for you guys. And then we were like, wait, there's 12 now. How did this happen? So we linked the new ones, and it's not like they just added an element, they just redesigned the whole thing. So we believe it still needs to be officially voted on and rolled out for all the grants related to CTE, but we wanted to make sure we were giving you the most accurate information as of today. So it's on the CTE website, so we feel like that's pretty legit, and that's what we're going to go through and unpack with you guys, and just kind of quickly reference the 12 elements. We're not going to read them all to you. You can click on the link through Whova, dive into it at your own time. But we wanted to just give you our lens of each one of kind of what that looks like in our districts, and then culminate into this career pathway plan and how it checks the box on most of the elements we're talking about with you today. Anything you want to add, Emily?
Nope. You ready to start with element 1?
Can't wait.
All right.
This is one of mine. Okay, so student-centered delivery of services. Absolutely, that's in everything we do, right? We're always looking to ensure that our courses and our school, the way it's designed is student-centered. So the big piece here is making sure students have access to the materials they need. In CTE, that's a lot of materials and resources depending on the class, and working with you know, different pieces of the school site and the district office to ensure, and grants to ensure that those materials are purchased, and the longevity of those and sustainment of those materials in classrooms, whether it's, you know, MacBooks for digital art classes that align with industry standard. I know that's always been something our district struggles with. We are a Chromebook district, and that's great, and that has a great capacity for a lot of things, but there are some CTE pathways that doesn't, the technology isn't there that aligns with industry standards. So that's a big hurdle that we've had to face, and we're currently, you know, adjusting to. And then the pandemic hit, and so that went on the side for a little bit, but we're continually trying to think of, as we're moving forward with design of CTE pathways at the school site and working with the admin and counselors and teachers at those sites, always going back to the goal of, is this student-centered? Are we able to deliver and make sure students can access this course or these courses, pathway courses?
All right. So element number 2, student equity. So really identifying and removing barriers for students of special populations. In Poway Unified, we're really working to improve access for our students. One thing we've done in our district, which I'm sure I'll probably reference a few times, but we've been really fortunate to fund 5 CTE site-based counselors. So they're CTE and intervention, so 50% CTE, but really working because they're at the school site, they're really able to better identify students, make sure that we're really serving all students in our district. That's something that we really strive to do, is each and every student. And we also are partnering with our workability program, helping them find more guest speakers. We are using currently a program called Nepris, so that we have virtual guest speakers in the classroom, and a greater diversity in speakers as well. And I think one of our goals is to really work to have more local speakers sign up with Nepris, so that we're really tapping into our local businesses as well. And then just really streamlining the transition from high school to post-secondary and workforce for all of our students. In San Dieguito, Jayme mentioned too that they're really targeting registration for English language learners and special education classes, and really providing materials that are appropriate for any adaptations or modifications for student support. And then both of our districts are really focusing on professional development for all educators. All right. Yeah, sorry, you can add on if you need to.
I'll add in here too. In the previous 11 elements, it was called equity and access, and now they've separated them. So element number 3 is access, so dedicated to, you know, how not only students accessing the curriculum, but teachers accessing the resources they need, and the industry partners, and making sure that we're removing any barriers. So similar to equity, but of course has a different lens. And like Emily shared, in our district, we were looking to really focus on ensuring all students, regardless of what subcategory they're a part of, have access to our courses. Because honestly, we found that at a lot of our high schools, we would have, you know, English language learners would struggle in these pathways, but be okay in these pathways, or students with special needs, same thing. So we're really trying to work with our school sites and teachers to ensure that all students have this access to these courses and these skills that they can build as they progress through high school and then graduate with those skills to go into the workforce. So we did an intentional design to work with our EL coordinators at each school site so that we can get into those classrooms, and then same with our special education case managers. And in addition, we're making sure counselors at all sites are aware of all the opportunities, so that when they do course registration, it's all encompassed, because we've identified that that's a huge opportunity for us to capture students and ensure that they have the access that they need.
As I say too, is I think access has taken on an even greater equity and access as we've had to switch to distance learning, right, to virtual education. And so we, you know, two of our career education specialists found this great program called Splash Top that we were able to take on, and it wasn't easy, but we were able to enroll our students who need access to classroom technology. They're now able to access their desktops in the classroom from home. So again, looking at access, just being able to have equal opportunity to use whatever programming or devices they need in the classroom, to have that at home. So we've really worked hard with that. And I think all districts have kind of been tackling that, because it isn't, not everyone has the same, you know, internet devices, everything else at home, and access at home. So that's something that I think has really been put to the forefront for all of us in CTE. Yeah. All right. So leadership at all levels. So, you know, with leadership, immediately think of the CTSOs, the career and technical student organizations. So I kind of referenced a few that our districts both have or have. Our district is working on a Cte Ambassador Program that we've been starting, just having students represent CTE so that they can better educate their peers, but also provide us with feedback on what we're doing in our office, so that we understand the student perspective of how, what the need is and how things are being perceived, and how we can better market and provide opportunities for students. And then, you know, also just internship opportunities, other clubs and organizations like Women in STEM, Women in Engineering, First Robotics competition. So really opportunities for students to apply their knowledge and show leadership in their knowledge. We've even brought high schoolers in to work with middle and elementary school students so they can demonstrate their knowledge, you know, and apply their knowledge, but also teach the younger students about the opportunities that are both career and that are available to them at the high school level.
And just to add on that, as Emily mentioned, CTSOs, for those of you who know or don't know, are specific career technical student organizations that are identified by the CDE. And so there's, I believe, 7 of those. I need to double check. So DECA is one of them. CoSA is one of them, the ones that Emily included on this slide. A lot of our pathways, I know in our district, we went through FPM a few years ago, Federal Program Monitoring, which is super fun in case anyone's been through that. But we learned a lot. And if the pathway doesn't align with a specific CTSO, or if it doesn't fit the needs of that pathway, there's an alternative method to get that leadership. And it's very well defined through the CDE website. But it's just essentially making sure that there's a leadership component to the pathway through a student club or organization and has identified leadership, curriculum. So if anyone has any questions, I can always answer that. I feel like I lived that life for a few years. Okay, we can go to element number 5. This is honestly the element that in my district, at least 3 years ago, spurred the conversation of the career pathway plan that we're going to be showing you guys. So looking at high quality integrated curriculum and instruction. So obviously that mostly happens in the classroom, making sure our teachers are able to reflect in their classes that they're teaching the industry standards, making sure that the courses, include the anchor standards that you're all familiar with. And the shift to that was a big thing for us, the teachers, like I said, that have been teaching for years and years, and now us walking in and saying, okay, now it's a CTE class and what this means, and there's other pieces that you have to make sure you're meeting. So a lot of the work I did in my counselor role at the district was working with teachers to design updated course outlines. And those course outlines are a big piece of our marketing that we do with our parents and our community, and they're on our websites. And right now, I know our teachers are going through distance learning course outlines. So like Emily said, it was really nice that we already had existing up-to-date course outlines that we could then pivot into distance learning language and transition. So it was a good tool for our teachers, and it's something that our counselors reference all the time for course registration. So that was a helpful tool. When we get to the career pathway plans, you'll see the connection there in a few slides.
Right. So element 6, skilled instruction and educational leadership informed by professional learning. So really providing opportunities to make sure that our teachers are up to date on everything in their industry that they're teaching. So teacher externships, we send our teachers and counselors to 3 professional development opportunities each school year, obviously depending on the funding we have to send them, but we try to provide those opportunities for them. Advisory meetings. So all of our, with CTE, we want everyone to have advisors that are informing the curriculum, informing the any of the equipment that they're using to make sure that everything is industry standard. So we also, we work with Project Lead the Way a lot. We have Jayme and I have been fortunate to start meeting as a county with all the CTE counselors and having monthly meetings just so we can share best practices and learn from each other. And then, of course, California Community College sector-specific meetings as well. So again, just making sure that, those that are educating our students are up to date on the best practices in their industry and making sure that we're teaching to industry standards.
And today's a great example of that, even for our counselor lens. I know that as a counselor, I'm like, how do I fit into this role with these teachers? And I would go to a lot of these meetings that our county puts on based on sector, like advanced manufacturing, or there'd be one for engineering and architecture, ICT, and then I would go and then report back to the teachers because they're in the classroom and it's harder to get out. Or one time we took a trip to Kearney Mesa, or to Kearney High School, and we went and looked at their incredible engineering facility that they just created. And it was a great way for our teachers to get ideas and network and, share best practices with one another. But it took for us to introduce that opportunity to the teachers because they're so in it. Like they're in the classroom, they don't have the time. And I think we have the benefit of being in a lot of meetings where we can connect with one another and then share back with the teachers. And ultimately that builds that relationship as well in any pursuit, right? Working with each other versus against. So that was a big win. Okay, looking at element number 7, you guys, this is my favorite one. So I'm so excited I get to do it. I'm sure all the elements are great, but this is the one I really enjoy. So Career exploration and student support, that's one of the main pillars of counseling. And this can look different depending on the grade levels and depending on the role of the counselor at your school site. But for me, at least, this is a big piece of a lot of our grants writing that we've written in order to be able to purchase career programs so that our middle school students have access to career exploration and high school career preparation. So right now in our district, our middle school counselors are working with Thrively, which is a new platform that we are just starting. I don't know if any of you happen to be working with them. It's a really, I like it because it has a strength-based assessment, and that's the foundation of it, and then it builds off of that. So that assessment allows students to understand, who are you as a human being? How can you contribute to the world around you? So in middle school, we feel like that's a big piece of the student knowing who they are as a person. And then in 8th grade, that same strength assessment goes into a different higher tier assessment, and then it's how can they build into, how can I be prepared for high school, and what can I do in high school? And then that's where we introduce the career pathways connected to their strengths, and which ones should they pursue and enroll in and register for 9th grade registration. So that's the connection in middle school. And then in high school, our counselors still use Career Zone in California colleges with our students to navigate career preparation and the college application piece, which we really try to overlap. Each year we have a college fair that is a career and college fair now. And actually, I can't say each year, I don't know if we'll have it this year, but this year's kind of a weird year, right? So we do have a large event at the San Diego Fairgrounds, at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and we have colleges and career companies that local career industry partners come and talk with our students. So that's a great opportunity for not only to showcase the work that we're doing, and for parents and students to go together and experience. And then for us as our district, as we're really trying to shift more towards the emphasis of career and college, not just college, it shows our parents the value of really backward designing. Like, let's see what your child wants to do. Let's see what they're interested in, and then go from there. Let's just not look at college as like I should go to this school because I've always liked their football team, or my grandfather told me I should go there since I was 3. Let's really look at this with thought, intention and thought, and that seems to be successful. So this is, of course, a big piece of it, and it's probably in the work that you all do. But I do want to give a shout out to middle school, because I don't know what situation you all are in, but middle school to me is a huge piece where this is essential. And just capturing the time of students, I think in elementary as well. I just don't get to work with elementary students in our district, but as early as you can, and getting students to start thinking about career without locking it in. And I remember I did a career exploration tool in high school, and it said I should be a park ranger, which I don't know really how that happened. I didn't pursue that pathway, as you guys can see, but it was just very antiquated. The questions it asked, of a long time ago, if you guys remember those Scantrons you bubble in, it's so different now. And I think it's going in a great direction to focus on your human strengths and how that parlays to a career.
I think just for me to add on, just having come from a college admissions background, I can't tell you how many times I work with students who really have, they were so focused on, oh, my major makes such a big difference on what I go into college and do. And they get stuck on that major piece. And a lot of them don't even understand what that major entails. I can use business for an example. Students don't have any idea that business is a math major. I mean, business is very math heavy. So if they don't like math, or they don't want to spend a lot of time doing it, that's going to be a hard major for them. So these are all things that, through a career assessment, through all this work-based learning, through experiences in middle and high school, they can better understand what those majors are, or what those careers look like, and work, like Jayme said, from the top down, or work backwards. So what careers am I interested in? How do I get to that career? It may not be a 4-year institution. It may be a certificate or a 2-year degree, or it may be straight to industry. I mean, everyone's path is different, and there's no right or wrong, but if they have a better understanding of what they like to do, what they're good at, and the variety of careers that they can do with those strengths and interests, that helps eliminate a lot of stress, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, Emily, we have 20 minutes. I'm just giving us the time.
I know, I'm watching it. I'm like, whew, okay. I told you guys we were talkers.
Any questions, Esteban, coming in, by the way?
No, so far no.
Okay.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
All right, perfect. So element number 8, just appropriate use of data and continuous improvement. So basically, just for us, it just means, focusing on those priority and emerging industry sectors. When we introduced the pathways in our district, we mentioned that, we hit 12, our district is 12 of the 15 high growth industry sectors. 7 are emerging industries in San Diego County. So really looking at that labor market data to drive and inform our pathway offerings. So 2 great places to look. We linked them on the slide, but the San Diego Workforce Partnership and the Center of Excellence. And then just really using that too to inform business partnerships. We have a Partners in Education newsletter that goes out and a handbook to really inform our business partners as well. And really so that we're using that to continually improve our pathway offerings for students.
And we will show you this in the career pathway plans as well, because that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
Okay, element number 9, opportunities for strategic and intentional cross-system alignment. Again, essential. So this is where those of you who are familiar with working with high schools and articulation at community colleges, dual enrollment opportunities with community colleges, it's amazing because it connects our high school students to these opportunities they have. And I know, like I said, we work with CoSA and we have a great relationship, and we have a lot of articulation agreements, and we're just starting to go down the path of dual enrollment, which is different and unique, and you guys are familiar with the differences between the two. But articulation is essentially credit by exam, and dual enrollment is the student is in a college course in high school. So we're kind of unpacking that in our district right now, and that's a big piece of my role. But there's so many opportunities, and one thing we found is the relationship of working with our counselors and admin teams and parents so that everyone understands the language. When you tell a student articulation, especially in 9th or 10th grade, they don't know what that means. So we've kind of referenced all of it with courses for college credit. So we have a document that I've linked at the end of the slide that's courses for college credit, and then it defines if it's an articulation course or a dual enrollment course. And then our students also have an opportunity to take concurrent enrollment courses. So on their own, go enroll in the community college and take it while they're in high school. Something to note here is that for your articulation agreements, if you work with your community college and they don't offer courses in some of the pathways that you have, you can then go to other community colleges that are outside of your district to pursue those articulation agreements. So for example, CoSA is our community college, but they don't offer wood technology or culinary and fashion, I believe, are the 3. So we've kind of gone to Palomar to look for a few of those, and potentially other community colleges in San Diego to connect with, because we want to make sure our students have as many opportunities as they can. So once they have articulation agreements, and when I referenced our business pathway, we have 3 courses at most of our schools that are part of our business pathway, and each of those courses articulate. So students who take all 3 courses will graduate high school with 9 to 12 units of college credit, depending which high school they attend, which is huge. I mean, that's almost a semester of college credit for free. So we really use that in our marketing of those pathways, and those pathways are so popular because I think our teachers do such a great job, but they also, the parents see the value and the benefit of kickstarting that college application. And a lot of the courses are Cal State, and one of transferable, and one is a UC transferable. So that's a huge perk as well.
And I sat in on the community college, on the early college credit panel yesterday with all the community colleges, and they did mention that they're going to change their language as well to early college credit as opposed to articulation, so that all the conversations are the same and better understanding of the language, less confusion.
And that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay, so element 10, so basically this is marketing and recruitment, right? So we'll get more into that with our documents that we're going to show you later, but things that we do, our district has a huge CTE Expo every year, which we're taking virtual this year, so that's going to be exciting, actually with the leadership of a student who was so, who really loved the Expo experience. It's basically a science fair, but with all of our pathways. So we have all the way K through 12 students participating and really demonstrating what they've learned throughout the year, demonstrating a project. So that's huge. We invite politicians, we invite business partners, we invite our you know, our 9 through 12 community, teachers, administrators, board members. So it's a great way to really celebrate what we're doing. And historically, we've held it at with one of our business partners. So at Petco is a place, Sony has hosted it. So that's a huge way we market our program. And we'll get more into that. I know we're kind of running short on time. So we'll talk more about this as we get into our documents in a few minutes.
And then element number 11, sustain investments and funding through mutual agreements. Let me just ease your stress. This has nothing, I mean, this isn't a counselor role to make all this happen. This is kind of a CTE director position at the district office, more of those working with your business services department. But what we want you to know about this is the purpose of industry partnerships, right? Like it starts as someone who will come into a classroom and provide a guest speaking opportunity. We worked really closely with Urban Plates in the past with our culinary arts program, and they allowed us to bring students into their restaurant before they open, and the students were able to tour the facilities, talk with each of the managers in each area of the front line, the back kitchen, the host or the hospitality manager, and learn so much about what actually happens in the industry setting. And so that could parlay very easily into once a company really wants to support your pathways or your school site and providing financial contributions to different things. So that's what this element is looking at that's really one of the goals is partnering with industry partners to have a true relationship that they support you financially as well, which is great.
Yep.
Almost done with the 12 elements, last one.
All right, and then just the 12th element is just strong partners with industry. We've talked about this a lot already, I think, but just opportunities to make sure that we're meeting industry standards in our classroom and in our curriculum with our equipment, and then, you know, job shadows, internships, guest speakers, career fairs. We do a speaker series in our district to allow students to learn more about careers in specific industries, so medical, business, and our healthcare, I guess, and sometimes sports and athletics. So those are just some of the things that we do. Those partnerships are so important to provide those work-based learning experiences for students. Okay.
Any questions on those? The quick summary, like we said, here's our disclaimer, we are not experts in the 12 elements. We are introducing them to you as we've kind of absorbed them ourselves, and we just wanted to unpack it so that it all parlayed into this program of study document we're going to introduce. So this again is a tool that I know in our district we developed for marketing CTE pathway classes for students and for them to understand the value of the sequence courses and show the alignment with industry standard, labor market data, and really put it all into one document. And we designed it to be electronic, so it's on our websites. It's also a piece of paper, a tool. I remember as a counselor, I would do a lot of 4-year planning similar to that, where you're doing it in pencil and a lot of erasing and conversations and what works for you and drawing arrows and just getting the student to lead the conversation. So to me, it's a really strong tool that you can use in any way and design it for your own school site or district based on your pathways and your needs. So like we mentioned, it aligns with almost every element that we just talked about. And as you develop yours, if that's something you're looking to do or you've already developed it, use what's the priorities of your school site or district. The program of studies it supports career exploration, the cross-system alignment with the community colleges, and in the case I'm going to show you also the local 4-year universities. It really shows the value of the high quality integrated curriculum, and then instructional intentional recruitment and marketing. So really getting students to be aware of which classes they're signing up for and sustain those pathway classes at your school site. I don't know if any of you have been in this situation where you have a beautiful pathway designed and then the capstone doesn't have enough enrollment and you just can't offer it. And then it feels like, well, what have we been building this for? So you really want to ensure that students are actively aware of the opportunities these courses offer, which aligns with promotion, outreach, and communication to parents, district office, school board members, industry partners. These documents are used in advisory meetings. So there's a lot of value and credibility in these documents. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say too, just kind of going into, what's the purpose? And I think you really touched on all of that, but it's really, helping with registration, helping with grade level meetings, really marketing the programs, helping parents understand, helping administrators understand, And really, again, it's that whole idea of what is a pathway, and then how do we complete a pathway. So I think those are the two big things. And then what's the benefit to the student? So, all right.
And we included in here the where you could use this tool. So as we mentioned, individual meetings with students, meetings with parents, grade level meetings, like Emily said. If you have advisory, this is a great opportunity to go in as a counselor time and to work with students looking at these career pathway plans and kind of have them complete their own plans on their own as you guide them through it. College and career centers, I know our vision was to make enormous big posters of each plan that we designed. But then the pandemic hit, so we haven't done that yet, but that's still one of our plans. So that is just another way of reinforcing the information that students have access to. And then CTE classes, something I loved in designing these is working with the teachers. And I will say, creating these documents took a lot of time, and it took a lot of collaboration with teachers, but you can't do it without them because you're essentially sharing with students what's happening in their classroom. And so you need to know the real deal and the details of what's happening in the classroom, but it's a great opportunity to connect with the teachers and show them the value of your role as a counselor in working with their students, because ultimately they want students in their classes and they want to continue to teach these classes. So it's a great networking with your teachers and collaboration opportunity as well. And then it's always a good idea to loop in your administration and keep them informed of what you're doing and what you're designing, because this is something that I think they will value in so many ways as well. Okay, so I linked here on this slide, and this is for you all to reference on your own time. Our career pathway plans is the first link, and that goes to our district office page or a district page so that you can see all the school sites, and then you can click on the individual school site, and then it goes to each of their pathway plans. The second link is just a list of our career pathways. There are Cte Pathways district-wide that I referenced. And then the third is the courses for college credit that I talked about, where it will show the articulated courses and then the dual enrollment courses. So the next slide, I just did a screenshot of one of our career pathway plans. So this is the Torrey Pines High School business management pathway that I referenced. When we designed these, I really wanted to honor the CDE language as well and try to keep the language consistent. So I used the little icon in the upper right-hand corner, that the sectors that the CDE uses on all of their documents, and I used their language for what is this business management pathway? What is it designed for? And then I developed go back to the other slide, Esteban. Yeah, just the kind of showing a visual representation of the pathway where students can start. In our district, they can take Introduction to Business, which is a college prep course. Then they can go on to take marketing. They don't have to do it. It can be 2-course pathway or 3. And then they go on to advanced business management. And so underneath each of those, I've shown if those courses articulate and what do they articulate with, and then what work-based learning opportunities do those courses offer students. And then are there student certifications? So you can see I put TBD because right now there isn't any specific certification design, but that's a goal of that department. So it's a fluid Google Doc, so we will all adjust it each year. And then leadership opportunities, they all are a part of DECA, which as Emily referenced earlier, that's one of the CTSOs. And so we're trying to visually show once you do all those things, then you get your CTE completer in business management. And then below it's showing related complementary courses. So this school site also offers accounting and intro to law, which is in the same department, and they don't align with the CTE pathway curriculum with business management, but they're a good supplemental course. And then business math, of course. And then on the second page, this is which took a lot of work, but with my counselor hat on, I loved it because it was the college and career portion. And then on the top, we kind of designed what certificate programs on the left students would have access to after completing this pathway in high school. And then on the right, the 2-year programs they could participate in, and then the 4-year programs. And we kind of honed in on San Diego County because obviously it would be a lot of options if you're looking broader than that. But it was a great opportunity to really investigate what do our students have access to in our own community, and then we link it. So of course, like I mentioned before, this takes a lot of work to maintain these documents, and as long as I am in this position, that's what I'll do. But eventually they can also be housed at the school sites, and the counselors at the school sites can update them as well. The bottom is the labor market information that we referenced, and I got this from various sources, but mostly the Center of Excellence. And I worked with Tina initially 3 years ago, and I called her and said, this is what I'm envisioning, but I want to have consistent, accurate data. I can't have data for one pathway from one site and one pathway from somewhere else, because we need to see, kids are going to compare these wages and the degrees and that kind of stuff. So the vision here is that students have one document that they can look at, and it's double-sided, and talk with their parents and be fully informed and aware of what these opportunities are for them. And then on the bottom is the skills that employers say that are valuable in that pathway. So business management, active listening, time management, service orientation, social perceptiveness, and communication. If it was digital art, it may be creativity, it may be talent, it may be patience, so they're different skill sets based on the different pathways. Let's see.
Okay, so, and I also linked some documents. Our documents have kind of been evolving. So prior to my time in PUSD, my predecessor created with our team a great document to really just market what is CTE, to answer those questions. And I can see if I can just click on it quickly. I know time is running near, but this is just one for one high school, just that shows the different pathways offered at that high school. At the bottom, our pathways offered at different high schools that are open to all of our students in the district. And then when you scroll down, you can see the different classes offered in each pathway, just helping students to understand what those classes are. Since then, obviously, we have now a counselor document. I probably should have linked the same ones, but again, for the counselors, because now, okay, people are starting to understand what a pathway is, but now more specifics of what classes are offered in the pathway. So just seeing that it's A through G, if that class is articulated for college credit, clubs and organizations that they can get involved in, leadership opportunities, and then post-secondary careers. And those are both linked in the document and available on our powaysd.com CTE website. We are in the process now of developing new documents to show pathway completion, because we're kind of at that step now where we just have to be more specific. So we're actually creating Google Slides that will break down the pathway, show the courses offered. A lot of the information will be similar to what Jayme showed on hers, but just we want to link it to, we use a program called Zello within our district, so linking it to labor market research and data about earnings and different careers that students can explore that are available in Zello for them as they kind of complete the different matchmakers. They can explore careers, and then they can also look at colleges that offer majors that would link with that career as well. So 2- and 4-year colleges. So that's kind of where we are with our documents in our district. So once we have that new one complete, it will be linked on our website as well, so you can access it there.
I love your graphics that you guys do in Poway. Do you have a graphic designer?
No, we did this in our office. Don't move the graphic because it'll all fight. It was done in PowerPoint actually, but you can steal them. You can borrow them.
I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I told my husband the other day, I need a graphic designer in my life. I feel like everything I do, so I work a lot with our teachers and our students, but it inundates them. And so it's one thing in education we never thought we'd need.
No, exactly. And it takes so much time. And we only have 2 minutes left. So just, this is just other things to consider, with these documents, how you might be using them, how they're relevant, and things that they might help with. And then, we can, obviously we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Whova chat. If not, this is our contact information. You're more than welcome to email either one of us or both of us. And we're happy to answer any questions that way as well.
I think we'll try something new if you guys want to unmute yourself and ask a question. Since we're here wrapping up at the end.
Let's do it. Yeah.
It's so good to see all of you here, by the way.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but you guys feel free to and keep asking questions or.
And you guys can email us if you have specific questions.